Welcome to another episode of the Couples Academy Show. Today is relationship Q&A. Get your paper, your questions, and join us now.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning,
It is a
everyone.
wonderful day. It is Friday.
Friday.
It's Q&A Friday.
Yes.
And we hope that you've had a wonderful week, but this is the day where you come in and you ask your questions and we get into a dialogue and we begin to interact with one another to give you what you need. So as you're preparing your questions, make sure that you just put it in the comment section so that we can read it and acknowledge you. So whether you're on Periscope or YouTube or Facebook, we are here to connect with you here this morning.
Yes.
We have one question we want to start with. This is from our Moving Forward member. Now, if you don't know what the Moving Forward program is, we'll talk about that later. But I always take the lead when discussing the marriage. I want my spouse to initiate more. He avoids anything that will rock the boat. I feel like I'm the only one who cares. Help.
Wow.
This is a big issue because oftentimes you have two different types of personalities in a relationship. You have the peacekeepers, you have the peacemakers. The peacekeeper, they just want to keep the peace. They don't want to fight. They don't want to argue. They don't want that struggle. And they will delay and they will pause and they will try to figure out a way to have a conversation later. Later often becomes never when they're operating in their extremes. The peacemaker wants to talk about it now, no matter what the circumstances may be, where we are, what time it is, they want the conversation. But outside of those personality types, usually one is more concerned about dealing with the relationship issues and the other one just doesn't want to engage. But the one who's always leading feels like, I don't know, the other one doesn't value the relationship because they never bring it up.
Yeah, I think the two perspectives make a big difference. Okay, if you have somebody that's a peacemaker type who is determined to do that, they are conversational. They could talk about the subject for hours and days because for them it almost energizes them to talk about this and work this out. Whereas the peacekeeper is trying to have peace. It's draining for them to have long drawn out conversations and not knowing the dynamics of the situation, but oftentimes it's a conversation that's been had multiple times, right? And so here the peacekeeper is thinking, I've had this conversation over and over again. I don't want to keep talking about it. It's so draining. And so you have avoidance. And this is why you have to actually create boundaries and rules so that you can come together and discuss things. This is why we have the marriage negotiation worksheet where we can actually sit down and have these discussions without arguments. It allows the couple to come to agreement first, like we are going to agree to have a discussion about issues. And so it kind of takes the edge off of the conversation.
I think you're right. You have to have a healthy environment. Like the conversation has got to be safe for both partners. The one who brings it up, obviously they have what they want to discuss, but if the other one feels beaten up, if they feel disrespected, disregarded, if they feel like they're always going to be wrong, if they feel like, every time we talk, it winds up being a battle or a fight, they will move away. And so it's about creating that safe environment. And listen, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. There are going to be some uncomfortable, some difficult conversations. But if you don't have the wherewithal to have those, then your marriage will slip into oblivion. Listen, it's not all fun and games. You want to play, but you also want to talk about the seriousness of what's necessary to take that relationship to the next level.
Absolutely. This is why we love the Enneagram personality style, because you get to understand your spouse. There are certain numbers that will absolutely always avoid just to keep the peace, right? And then there are some that are going to come at you with these hot topics. So it's really about how we talk to each other, right? We have to have grace with one another. I don't have the same lens as Hassani. He doesn't have the same lens as me. So you can't talk to me the way that you would talk to yourself. And that's what we do. It's just like, well, I've always talked to people like this, or I've always dealt with people like this. I remember us with our peacemaker situation. Hassani could talk to us about issues in the supermarket in front of everybody. Like, I want to talk to you about, like, he could care less who was around. I am not that way. I need privacy. I do care who's around. I don't want people all up in my business. Please, can we have a private setting? Can we not do this at dinner? There's a table right next to us. I think they can hear us, even if we're at a whisper. So these are the things, right, that we're dealing with inside of our relationships that go unacknowledged, and we don't want anybody to feel unacknowledged.
All right. The second question from our moving forward. Remember, how do I express my concerns about my spouse's shortcomings without it backfiring on me?
That's a similar question.
I'm reluctant because I was the unfaithful partner. Well, the first one's about having a difficult conversation.
Sure. Yeah.
And the fact that my spouse never brings up the relationship. This is now, I want to talk about it. I want to talk about your shortcoming, but I feel like I can't, or
because I'm the offender.
Yeah. So no matter what I can say about you, it's trumped because of the fact that I had an affair, which creates an imbalance in the relationship and is really unfair because a lot of issues can go unmet, unaddressed, and then unresolved.
I think it's something. Here's what has to be understood: that before the affair, your partner was a flawed being. And in most cases, you knew that. You already knew that they were flawed. You already knew that they had issues, and you overcompensated for their issues. You turned a blind eye to those issues. You rose to the occasion relating to those issues. And actually, for many couples that end up in front of us, it's the reason why they ended up in front of us, because those issues went undealt with. And so now, after the affair, we cannot pretend that we're flawless. We cannot pretend that we are perfect human beings. Of course, you have issues, even though you weren't the affair partner. So there has to be that. And this is what Hassani and I talk about. You know, when we get into a conversation with a couple, we get to mediate. Right? We're in between two couples who are talking almost the same language, but almost the same topics, but in different languages. And we help you to understand each other so that the fighting stops, so that you can actually come with peace and get to a resolution.
And it's so critically important. Listen, if you're the hurt partner, you're in a place of hurt. You're in a place of pain. So you're not operating at your best. You're not the healthiest version of yourself. So there's probably behaviors, attitudes, thinking, emotions that are not good, and they have to be discussed. They have to be talked through.
That's a great point. Not being at your best self, right? Because we know that you can be at your best self or your worst unhealthy self, especially with your personality style. And when you are going through stress, that's when you show up as your worst self. Those characteristics start to bubble to the surface. So after an affair, you're going to be showing all your stuff that you had before, plus other issues, other triggers, right? Because you have PISD. You are struggling with the fact that there was an affair. So now your spouse can't even approach you or talk to you about certain issues.
That's right. All right, we got a question from Corliss. My husband has owned up to everything he talks about, everything on his own. I don't have to bring things up. He just doesn't totally believe in therapy. Do you think that can be enough? I don't think so. But what can I do? No, listen. We have a video where we talk about you will cheat again unless, and there's 6 things that you have to do to prevent yourself from cheating. Just making a decision to say, oh, I'm good now. I've decided not to do it anymore. We can move forward is not enough. There should be couples counseling because there's the devastation of what has happened to that relationship that needs to be talked through and worked through. But then there's the individual counseling that he needs. Because think about it. You're the betrayed spouse, right? You're the hurt spouse. You're now broken as a result of what happened. But he was broken when he engaged in the affair. Something was off. Something was wrong. Something caused him to do that in the first place. And that individual counseling allows him to get to the root of that so that he can change his behavior. Then there's a support group, a community to belong to keep him on the right track. Because you can make a decision in your strength, but then vacillate when you are not as strong, which can cause you to slip back into bad behavior.
Yeah. And also I think that, when those situations arise, if you are suppressing the emotions just to get through it, sometimes you think you're okay and you're not. Right. And so we've all heard about the tip of the iceberg, right? And then underneath is all this other stuff. That's what your counseling helps you do. And also, we tell people all the time, even though you're here at couples counseling, it's important for you to get individual counseling. That is necessary because couples counseling is for that, your marriage, to counsel you through your marriage and through those issues. But then what about all the other stuff that you came into the marriage with? What about all those issues? So that's why counseling is so important.
Absolutely. Another question. What do you do when your marriage is in the roommate stage? Yeah,
Hmm.
you have to get it out that roommate stage. We talk about the 4 stages. Stage number 1, soulmate. That's when everything is all good. You're in love, things are flowing. Stage number 2, role mate. Now things have shifted because you've gone from a relationship to a marriage, and now it's now about duties and responsibilities and obligations and
Yeah.
work and everything else. Then you go from role mate to roommate because you're so busy handling life. There's an emotional disconnect, and now you feel like, wow, my partner's like a roommate, my partner's like a brother or a sister.
Mm.
That connection is gone. And then if it gets even worse, you can become cellmates where
Mhm.
you're trapped in a marital prison.
Mm.
So if that's the emotional decline, then you have to go in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
You have to figure out what was the connection initially,
Yeah.
and reconnect and be intentional to spend more time, to have sexual fulfillment, to have effective communication, building up that level of intimacy, creating that sacred space for you to reconnect in your
Yeah,
relationship.
you have to become explorers. And the truth is that throughout different times in your life, you're going to ebb and flow through that, right? So there are some times where even we've said, "Oh, I think we're moving into roommate stage. We're task oriented. We're not focused on the marriage. Let's get back to exploring." That's what you do about it. You become an explorer. You try to find ways to connect. You get out there and explore things together, find a new adventure together, get out there and start doing date nights together. That's what you do. That's what Hassani is talking about, rolling back the tape to get back to where you were. You do what you used to do. And before we were at roommate stage, we would connect in a different way. We
Yes.
were more intimate with each other. We dated, we were romantic. That's how you get from roommate back to, well, not roommates, but back to married couples.
Yeah, back to soulmate.
Back to
and,
soulmate.
and Ronald, understand this. I don't know if you're new to the show, but we often talk about the importance of understanding the difference between your relationship and your marriage. And I think oftentimes we give up our relationship for the sake of the marriage. The marriage is partnership, the relationship is companionship. So if you've lost companionship
Mm-hmm.
in your relationship, that should be the primary focus. That's how you'll get back on track.
Yeah.
So hopefully that
Absolutely.
makes sense. Khadijah Hill, to
Yeah,
that point,
Khadijah.
though I feel as a hurt partner, I'm always having to work harder than my spouse to make sure that he feels okay, because he's always scared to talk or upset because I'm upset, or wanting to get the attention off himself. I'm not trying to talk about me right now, when right now it's not about me, it's about you as the offender. Why is it that I'm the one that has to be the adult and suck up my feelings like always?
Wow. Yeah, that's a word right there. I was just saying this the other day about how, as a wife, and I'm just talking to wives, the overcompensating for and rising to the occasion about things, and now after the affair, not wanting to do those things because we're hurt, right? And understanding that as it relates to the marriage as a whole, the benefit is clear for your husband, right? He gets a wife. A wife is a helpmate. A wife does a zillion and one things, right? But and he gets the marriage, he gets a home, he gets all the benefits and the bells and whistles that come with marriage, children, and somebody taking care of his children, and somebody taking care of him. All these things are the benefit of having a wife and a marriage. And I think a lot of times women get frustrated when there is an offense, when there's a hurt, because we are all these things. We are every woman. We've always done it all with ease and with joy and with pleasure, right? And when we were doing it before the offense, it wasn't easy. It was hard. A lot of times we had to be the bigger person. We were overcompensating for all these things you've always done. Now it's just a lot harder on the other side of this offense. And this is why we talk to everybody and say, listen, what is your why? You have to have a strong why for why you are moving forward, Khadijah. What's making you stay? What value do you see? What future can you project and see with your husband that is bright, that is better, that has hope? That's what you have to latch onto, because the truth is, and I wish I could change it, it's crazy hard and it's unfair. Period, point blank.
Wow. Mic drop.
It's hard. It's
hard.
Unfair.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is the work. This is why you have to be committed to the process, and you both have to have a level of commitment to get beyond that hump, to get to a better place.
Yeah.
And it will happen because it's happened for so many other couples. And every couple's dynamic is uniquely different. You're dealing with personality types, you're dealing with all types of things, but you can have a better day. Listen, people often wonder, is it possible that you can actually be in a better relationship after the affair than prior to? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes.
Because maybe you didn't have the right foundation to begin with. And the affair really shined a light on everything that was wrong that you need to begin to do repair work on to be in a better place. And so, yes, we're hopeful for you. We're hopeful for all of you who tune in every single day. Kathy says, I feel the same way all the time. You are not alone feeling this way.
Yep.
I do all the work and he has all the fun.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. There needs to be balance, right? So the unfaithful partner needs to know their responsibility. I think the reason why there's such a focus on the betrayed spouse to do all this work, because they're embodying these feelings all day, every day. And the other person, the person who was the offender, they don't feel what their spouse feels. So in essence, if I'm calm and I'm not yelling, fussing, fighting, arguing, and pissed off or crying, you think everything's all good. No, I'm just not outwardly expressing what may be going on the inside.
Right.
And that's why it's so critically important for you to check in with your partner. So people think, okay, I just want peace. I just want peace. And if there's peace, then we're in a good place. But let me tell you something. The absence of conflict doesn't necessarily mean that you have peace, because the internal turmoil that a person can endure is what the challenge is. Yes, Angel says, yes, commit to the process.
Yes.
The process is very important, because if you're committed to that process, everything will begin to shift and change. This is what we're talking about. Every single Friday, we're committed to helping you have the best relationship that you can have. So whatever those questions are, bring those questions in so that we can help take your relationship to the next level. Listen, I want to quickly share with you, we have an event coming up. If you do not remember, the Unbroken Virtual Marriage Conference is just right around the corner, October the 16th through the 18th. It is just $89 per couple. Listen, this is an event that you do not want to miss. It's going to be transformational. The link is right at the bottom of the video in the description. So we encourage you to go. We were there on last year and had an amazing.
We can't stop talking about it. And you know what? This is going to be amazing. But in person, it was killer amazing. So just imagine when we open up the doors and we can get people together. They have somehow found a way to pack all that they do, the experientialness, into a virtual event you don't want, and for an amazing price.
An amazing
for
price.
2 days?
For 2 days.
Yes.
So listen.
Be there.
Want to share a quick testimonial with you. Be right back in just a sec.
Hi, I'm Greg Meyer from Jacksonville, Illinois.
And I'm Julie Meyer from Jacksonville, Illinois.
We're here because I had an emotional affair with an old schoolmate.
And I found out right before it became physical, like it was going to become physical that night. The next day, I was just in so much pain. I didn't know what to do. I was barely breathing. And I sat at my desk and I just Googled how to get through an affair. And I think Hassani's video was one of the first or the second ones to come up. I watched a half-hour video, and it talked about how to recover from an affair. And I think I actually watched it twice. And then I sent him the link, and I said, "You need to watch this."
And I watched it and went to his website and looked at all his services. And we talked about doing the hourly sessions, and we discussed the time it would take. And then I found this 3-day intensive, and how that has got to be better than dragging this pain out for weeks and weeks and weeks. So we decided and contacted him and this Couples Academy, and it's the best thing that anybody could absolutely do when you have a problem, like a situation like we had in an affair. It gets it out in the open, it gets it going, it gets it healed in the right directions a lot faster than dragging it out for months.
This was like the first day was so hard because the first day was talking about the affair and it was painful. I mean, a lot of things I'd heard, but it was painful to hear it all again. But it was like, once that was out, it was just like, all right, we've dumped this baggage and now we got to move forward. And Today, the last day, I mean, we just got done doing our forgiveness letter, and I have never, ever felt from him what I felt out of that letter. I mean, he was emotional, he was raw, he let me in. I saw his pain, and I mean, that's probably the most moving experience we've had in 32 years. We're walking out of here with about 1,000 pounds less baggage than when we came in here.
And in conclusion, it's the best money that you can spend to get your marriage back on track that will repay itself over and over again.
Yeah, powerful testimony.
Absolutely.
And it just speaks to the power of what happens when you invest in your relationship.
Yep. Heather Jones says, I'm every woman. Why doesn't he see how blessed he is that I'm sticking around through this, is what I think she's going to say. And you know what? It's hard to say without knowing how you might be showing up as a result of the affair. He might actually see how blessed he is, but not know how to articulate it. Sometimes they don't know if you're going to blow up, so they don't say anything at all, or they're just not expressing it in the way that you need it to be expressed. We talk about the love languages. You might be receiving a love language from him, but you're not able to see it because it's not your love language. So there's a lot of things at play here. I don't know if Heather has reached out to us. Is she a part of our? Okay, well, good. Then you're in the right hands to get the support that you need. Sometimes it's really just about understanding how we need to speak to our spouse so that they understand how much we actually do care and recognize how blessed they are for us to stick around.
So guys, we hope that you got something out of today. We want you to have an amazing weekend. We'll see you on Monday for another great topic. If you need to reach out to us, you know where to find us. couplesacademy.org, 678-200-8996. You're listening to the Couples Academy Show.
Can't bring us down, can't nothing bring us down. Our love is too high, bring us down, can't nothing bring us down. Bring us down, can't nothing